how to help people with existing injury problems in 3 tips. Hey, I'm Sarah from mostmotion, and I'm here with another How to Hack Injuries episode for every sports and fitness coach who wants to be confident handling existing injury problems without having to become an injury specialist or therapist. So here's what I mean. Tip 1 is therapists are not the top of the food chain. Now, whether it's been intentional or not, coaches are under the impression or have been led to believe that therapists and medical professionals are above them in terms of how they can help with injuries because they know more about injuries than we do. But the reality is that therapists and medical professionals are the beginning of the end of the process, because pain is one of the very last signs that somebody is having an injury problem. And pain doesn't happen by chance in the majority of sporting injury situations. So if we look at the fact that most public and private healthcare systems around the world now are being overwhelmed by people who are relying on somebody else to fix their pain. In 2021, Versus Arthritis released a report. I can't remember what it was called. Let me just check. It was the State of Musculoskeletal Health. In 2021, they released a report, and in that report, they said that 51% of people surveyed with musculoskeletal conditions feel like they cannot do anything themselves to lessen the impact of their condition on their lives. So over half of the people who are struggling with musculoskeletal conditions, a lot of those are what we would consider to be sports injury problems, but they're not really going away. Back pain, knee pain, all that kind of stuff. People feel like there's nothing they can do themselves, so they're relying on the system to help fix them. But the system waits for the pain before taking any action, and that's just way too late. But coaches are in a unique position because we're the only people who can see these problems before they become painful. And while a small percentage of coaches want to actually learn about the injuries themselves in more detail, most don't, but they do want to help the people in their sessions who are suffering with these problems. So again, in that report from Versus Arthritis, they said 77% of people surveyed with musculoskeletal conditions said they wanted practical tips and support about activity and pain management so they can be more physically active, however you want to say it, because they know it helps with their pain and with their mental health as well. So when it comes to our powerful contributions to injury management as coaches, it doesn't come from learning about those injuries themselves. It comes from intervention before the pain happens and some other ways that I'll get to in a minute. If we think of our coach's contribution before the pain and therapist's contribution after the pain, it's really easy to see how we can start to complement each other and be way more powerful working together. So tip number 2 is that we are similar, but so different. Now, I've been around the block a lot of times when it comes to injuries. I've had my own injury problems, I've coached people with injuries, and I've treated people as a therapist with injuries as well. So I've seen all sides. In fact, I've even worked in the NHS as a rehabilitation assistant on the orthopedic wards dealing with hip and knee replacement patients immediately pre and post surgery. So I have actually seen it from a lot of different angles. And the one thing that I take away from that is that coaches and therapists are both really naturally very caring sets of people. We just want to help. And it's really important that we remember that we're on the same side here. But if we always judge coaches' ability or credibility by their knowledge of injury and anatomy, the majority of coaches won't come across very well. But there's a huge opportunity for coaches to shine when it comes to dealing with the generality, if that's a word, of joint movement. And with the exception of collision injuries, whether it's with the ground or with someone else or with something else, the majority of sporting injuries, whether it's an itis or a syndrome or it's just a pull or a strain here or there, come about from the restriction of joint movement somewhere in the body. And the therapists and specialist coaches will dive into the specifics of the site of the pain, but that's not the average coach's job. It's not our responsibility. It never was, and it never will be. But instead, we can focus on improving the joint movement through the rest of the body, which is non-painful and very helpful in reducing the strain on the area of pain. So again, if we think of therapists and specialist coaches' focus of being on the specifics of the joint restrictions and movement problems and the area of pain itself, and the average coach focuses on the general joint movement and improving that joint movement wherever we can see how each job is complementary and it's supportive and it's really valuable as well. And so tip number 3 is that actually every coach can help. You don't even need to be a qualified coach to be able to make a really valuable contribution to this situation. Now, the world is full of super generous, really helpful, and very valuable assistant coaches. And the majority of these people give their time freely. They're just volunteers. They want to help out with sports clubs, events, and community organizations as well. And these people are sometimes the ones who are in the best position to spot potential issues because the coach is busy dealing with the whole group and they're more able to walk amongst the group and spot more subtle signs more frequently. So it's widely recognized that emotional and physical stress are the leading causes of, or the leading risk factors, should I say, for injury, along with previous injury. So if you had an injury before, you're more likely to get another one. And the human body's got some really cool little quirks that are telltale signs for this stress. And as coaches, we don't even need to know whether the cause of the stress is emotional or physical. We just need to be able to identify those signs, like somebody standing with their arms crossed over the chest, or knuckle cracking, or even fiddling with a ring or a necklace. Now, nobody needs a degree in anatomy to spot these things. And the coolest thing of all is that these signs are there whether these people have pain or not. So the main points that I want you to take away from this injury hacking video are that if you think you can't get involved with helping the people in your sessions with their existing injury problems, you're really just getting in your own way and actually doing a complete disservice to the people that you say you want to help. And the second thing is that your contribution in the ways that I've outlined in this video are really valuable with people who have existing pain and in preventing injuries for everyone else. So stop comparing yourself to what the medical professionals and specialist trainers can do to help and start acknowledging that your difference is your brilliance. So the big idea here is that you can be confident handling existing injury problems without having to become an injury specialist or a therapist. So if you're a sports or fitness coach who is serious about wanting to put this whole process on steroids, I'd really like to invite you to discover the huge opportunities that lie ahead for you at mostmotion.com/roadmap. So you can be confident coaching people with injuries fast without having to become an injury specialist or therapist. I'm Sarah from Most Motion. This has been How to Hack Injuries. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.